stream up and then we will put the word out. Welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I am your host, Kalari GXC. We are going to get started tonight with, you'd have to live under a rock to not understand the biggest news story in the globe right now, if you're in the so called Western world at least. And it's a really touchy topic. I feel like there are going to be people who think, oh, Tin, are you siding with the royal family? And I just want to pump the brakes because I get it. I love history. True, unabridged, raw history is not a pretty picture. And colonialism was never good to my people. So before anybody thinks that this is going to be praise or pride or whatever in Queen Elizabeth, no. But when I say some of the stuff that I seen yesterday was a bit much for me, I mean it as there are a lot of people, because I'm not trying to act like I'm on a high note, that when they leave this world, whether they have been related to me or somebody I just really don't like, I don't normally speak ill of the dead, but I'm not going to act like there aren't a few people that when they take their last breath upon this earth, I'm not going to talk complete shit about. Looking at you, 45. Matter of fact, I'm going to pop a champagne bottle when you pass. But I don't feel that connection to the royal family. Do I like what colonialism did to my people, to my ancestors, to people abroad that look like me, to several territories that they held in their tight reign of royal grip for years? No. Did I give a fuck about any of the royal weddings? Not a one. And I seen a lot of them. Well, could the chat respect. I remember when the Spencers sat and gave their daughter to that fucking tendril of a monarchy and they ate her up and spat her out. My mom watched Will and Kate, didn't care. And then I watched Harry and Meghan get married because it was everywhere. But like watching any kind of wedding show, it was just like, okay, I'm done. There was no connection to me and the royals at all whatsoever, except what any other African American whose ties to old plantations and colonialism through slavery have. So when I say that the death of the queen didn't affect me on that level, I still felt sadness because she has been around for so long that it is going to feel weird to me, her not being here. But on another level, as somebody who lost my grandmother when she was an older lady, somebody who had those years with her, my heart went out to Prince Harry. I realized that a lot of people can't see it in that light, and I am not knocking those who have very visceral rights to feel what they feel against the monarchy, the crown, and even Queen Elizabeth herself. But I think on the level of how I felt those last few days, knowing that my grandmother was going to go at any moment. And I knew when she lost her husband, because when you're in a relationship for as long as the king and queen were, that when the first one goes, it's not that much longer when the partner will follow right behind. So it to me, it's just feeling like there's no reason for me to dunk on them. I can dunk on the monarchy like no tomorrow because I still don't even understand why in this day and age we still need that. They've had a function in parliament for over 50 years now. I don't understand except the illusion of wealth and power. And until we get to a point where we stop appointing people over us and we start trying to build each other up as a species and a full on tribe, I just do not get the point. But Britain wants to hold on to their monarchy, and now they have King Charles. Whatever. Not my business. I just think it's crying the crazy the way social media was yesterday. There were people that felt heartfelt sadness. There were people that felt rejoicing. There were people in the middle trying to get digs in. And if you're some weirdo white guy that wants to try to ding black people for not being gracious enough and saying this is why we don't deserve reparation, Opie, shut the fuck up. Stay out of black people's business. This country will repair. They're gonna have to repair the ancestral damage they've done to my people, because we're not gonna take this crap anymore. But this queen dying, we don't owe them any kind of reverence or fealty. And in fact, the people that we are feeling sympathy for live here. They're ours. They fled that bullshit and they are making their lives here. And all I want to do is put a nice aura of protection and guidance and love towards Harry, Meghan, Lilybeth, and Archie, because they're the ones I care about in this whole situation. No offense to the Cambridges or this whatever. I don't care about them. They're in Britain. They represent something that I don't even think makes sense. So I'm not going to worry about them. They have enough on their hands with a very high profile family member dying. I honestly just feel like there was just a lot of nastiness that went on, but there was a lot of weird interpersonal snipes. At the risk of my channel getting dinged, the fact that Jeff Bezos decided to weigh in on the professor and try to get her fired when she, rightfully so, being a Nigerian woman, called out the colonialism, we're going to see a lot of this back and forth. And it feeds into a lot of what I want to get to tonight about inner reflection and who's controlling what. Because we have all these illusions of things like a crown and a monarchy in England. But we have a lot of wannabe king and queen makers in America with money. And they have been trying to run our media game. They have been trying to run the flow of information. And they are trying to ding our current administration and drag us back to that incompetent, literal espionage having motherfucker. And I cannot sit on that. I cannot sit quietly. And I know the world wants to mourn Queen Elizabeth. Rest in peace. I'm a bit upset that there was somebody that had the nerve to say rest in power. Please don't use what we use for black people who have been lynched for somebody who literally caused our ancestral plane. Thank you very much, E and everybody else. But moving on from the illusion of power, we need to get to issues of power struggles. I know that people have been sharing this video. This is what's going on right now in Jackson, Mississippi, if you turn on your tap. It is not a pretty sight. People want to blame the federal issues. This is not a federal thing. The state of Mississippi got $4 billion for infrastructure spending. $4 billion. Water should not be coming out of your tap like that. But Tate Reeves doesn't care. Tate Reeves gave $77 million to Brett Favre for speeches, probably yucking it up in yacht clubs and other bullshit while people of Mississippi suffer. This is what happens when you've got a Republican governor. This is what happens when you got people who act like, oh, it's just black people. That's a white hand. This is a white lady who turned on her sink and has water that's coming out that looks like something out of a mud tar pit. This is what happens when you have a red governor leading your state into destruction. This should be across every news cycle. But what do we have? They're talking about a fucking monarch from a whole nother nation dying, which I get it. But mitigate that by talking about the problems that these red states are going through. The fact that Florida has some of the highest number of COVID deaths because they still allow people to deny what they need to do. The fact that we just convicted 2 freaking yahoos, let me put their dumbass faces up, here in Michigan, because they, along with 14 other yahoos, even though some of them got let off or acquitted for now, with a plot to kidnap my governor. We cannot afford to stay complacent or apathetic to this, because we are up against literal crystal fascists, these weird dominionists who have power, money, and believe it's their God given right, just like those illusionary monarchs, to run our shit in the ground. They want women silent, obedient, popping out babies until they're not old enough, and then going out to pasture so that they can fuck another younger generation over. They want men angry, and if they ascend to aptitude where they get money, great. If not, work them to death. That's all they care about, is what they can use and who they can utilize. And too many of us have fallen prey to this. That's why you've got these walking toes looking motherfuckers going to possible jail for a while, because they were indoctrinated to believe in their God-given right to be awful. We have to be on guard, because for every one of these fuckers that fail in their attempts, there are more groups trying to coalesce, come together, and destroy us from within. They're changing their tune. They've seen how Alaska went down. They're starting to see how voters are coming out to say, you're taking our rights as women away. You're targeting our governors when they're doing their job. COVID's still ravishing us. This country is not exactly where we need to be. We need to turn out. And the GOP are scared, and they need to be. Because this is the result of their nonsense. This is the result of their No Child Left Behind. This is the result of their constant Bible thumping without Bible reading. And if you think that men like this are just a little drop in their plans, you're wrong. They're armed, they're dangerous, and they're stupid. It is not a good combo. And we need to be on guard for this. We need to make sure that they no longer hold any kind of true power within our state and legislative branches. We need to purge our judicial branches of their bullshit. Because, like I said, only 2 of these fuckers so far have been convicted of a literal plot to kidnap and assassinate a sitting governor. There was over 14 of them. They were on Facebook plotting and planning. Oh, Meta now. They leave open manifestos to the shit they're gonna do. It is not a game for them. They have literally lived and breathed this. They are fully radicalized and indoctrinated. So it is on us to make sure that their avenues to power, their avenues to terrorizing us, completely fail. We need to stop allowing the system to allow them to feel safe gathering and doing stuff like this. And I know it seems hard, because we are up against the media that articles where a young lady wants to talk about how she's no longer a Democrat. Okay, see ya. Like, bye. I honestly do not highlight or even give any attention to people that do shit like that, because, hey, I don't believe you were a Democrat in the first place. But B, that's the media in a nutshell. You've got CNN that's went full on Fox News, talking about how Biden needs to invite 45 to the Queen's funeral. And no, 45 is probably even allowed to travel, because I know it's hard for some of our media to wrap their mind around. He's literally committed espionage. He had top secret, highly classified documents, some that they haven't even recovered. He has sold our country out to whoever was going to help fund that ridiculous, lavish lifestyle of his. He is a fucking traitor. And when the Queen was alive, she wasn't a fan of his, so I don't think they need him stinking up her funeral. I am so infuriated with the way CNN is behaving, but I'm not shocked, because CNN is owned by a billionaire Trump supporter. And these people want to keep the power in that idiotic type of power's hands, and we cannot afford to waste our time. So CNN wants to court the dumb, the people that want to drink pee and ivermectin instead of masking up and doing what they got to do to survive. If they think that they can court the old angry white people that are afraid of anything that doesn't look like them, let them. I wish them well, and I know they're gonna fail. Most of us are cutting the cord anyway. So honestly speaking, this shift to CNN, I wouldn't have seen it anyway because I don't waste my time with our news media anymore. I vet who I read in print now because I'm never giving the New York Times another click on purpose. And there are plenty of amazing global independent news organizations that I can get actual news better about this country than in my own country. Local news owned by the Sinclair Group help fuel a lot of the bullshit that has been going on in state and local politics. We've been warning you for years, but some of you cannot desensitize and stop tuning in because it really is like a dopamine hit. That constant stream of bad news, that constant stream of what's going on, that constant stream of toxic negativity, it gets into your system and you're so used to it that you automatically tune it in. But I'm begging people, detox yourself from it. They're not telling you anything you can't find out on social media. They're not even reporting the decent stuff. We got to see King Charles, I guess now, all over our media today. The last few days has been nothing but a country that literally we broke free of. Our president gave a beautiful, rousing speech about the threat to our democracy, the rise in radicalism that threatens all of us. And our major stations ignored it, blacked him out. We had literal CNN anchors arguing with people on Twitter when they know they're dead wrong for their stances. Trying to both sides a situation that is clear. You are either on the side of democracy or on the side of fascism at this point. We cannot mince words with this. We cannot act like there's some nice... No. Because at this point, if you're still a conservative, you're down with what that woman just had going on with her sink in Jackson. You're down with the bullshit that's going on in Florida right now, with homeboy pretending like he's Top Gun while his state is literally dying from COVID, and also harboring a fucking literal espionage treason motherfucker. You're down with the bullshit that Abbott's put Texas through, including the deaths in Uvalde, including all the shit that went down with their grid, which is gonna happen again this winter. And the almanac and my own witch's bone says it is going to be tough, y'all. Start stocking up. Just a tip from me to you. Get a little extra each time you go shopping. Start getting the non-perishables. Get your supplies just in case your stuff goes out. Because even in states with decent governors, even in states with decent stuff, we are up against a really unstable Mother Nature. And we could end up having another mild winter, but you don't know. So I want you to be safe. Start stocking up slowly. What drives me up a wall, though, is how seamlessly some of these media people slipped in to being pro-fascist. And they do it so well that some people question themselves, like, am I wrong? I mean, I used to tune into this channel all the time and they seemed reasonable, but now they're talking about how Biden shouldn't have had 2 Marines behind him, even though he's literally the commander-in-chief. But they ain't saying anything with Senior Baby Pants 45 wanting to literally roll tanks down DC, even though DC streets, as somebody who's been to DC, would not have been able to handle anything like that. It's funny how false displays of presidencies and patriotism flies for these fuckers, because it helps that false illusion of power that so many of these rich fuckers have. They know in an even playing field they wouldn't matter, and they don't want it, and they're going to do everything they can to undermine it, but they underestimate just how fucking tired the rest of us are of this. We women are not going to just be bowed down and oppressed. You're not going to tell us how to utilize our body, and you're not going to take our right to grow, study, learn, and prosper. You might get your little Stepford rise when you fucking indoctrinate them from birth, but there are a lot more of us that were raised by women to not take that shit. Some of the strongest, smartest people I know were my grandmothers. And they ran their houses and they taught us to always learn, always be, and always shine. Don't let somebody take that from you just to be with them, because they're not worthy of you if you got to lessen yourself for them. And there are way too many women not being raised to be like that. And that is a hell that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. We got to get away from this society that thinks women are just there to breed and throw away. But that's the kind of society these fuckers keep trying to drag us back in. And I don't think they realize that we are past the tipping point. And we are sick and tired of the games. And I don't care how wealthy you think you are. I don't care how together you think you are. I don't even care if you own the site that hosts my show. You are not going to drag us back to where we were even 2 years ago. Not without a fight. Y'all went after Roe. McConnell really thought he was doing something with his Supreme Court that he helped. Make sure you put assholes like the handmaiden and the beer guy on there. You already had Alito's ass on there. Thomas, who is still, I hate Bush for that. It was such a slap in the face of Thurgood Marshall. But we figured, okay, we still had RBG. We still had a chance. And then 2016 happened, and that motherfucker with his puppet guy put in 2 more assholes. So now we can't rely on our Supreme Court. But I really think they counted us out. They thought, okay, well, we'll just pass through things like getting rid of Roe. That'll teach them our power. And it's like, oh yeah? I don't think you understand how tired we are of your shit. We're tired of sending our kids to school with anxiety about school shootings because your guys are in the pockets of the NRA. We are tired of you telling us that our womb is more important than our own lives. We are tired of you holding hostage our ability to just be and prosper and grow and learn. We are tired of you trying to force your weird religious doctrines onto us, because true Christians aren't worried about people growing and loving and prospering. But a lot of yous aren't true Christians. Your ideology, none of us want to deal with that. And welcome to the chat, Terry Antico. We have so many game players, especially in our media right now, that it is so hard to keep up and keep track. And when you've got people like those CNN reporters and that supposed young lady where her articles on how she's no longer a Democrat, and it's like, bye, Felicia. Like, what are we supposed to say to these people besides that? I tell people all the time, let people show you who they are, and oh my gosh, I am so excited about these portraits. But they even tried to politicize and ruin that. There's an amazing picture of our president, former President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama, and the new VP and first husband Doug. And it was brilliant, and I loved seeing them all together. And of course, the right wingers lost their minds. They can't stand that we gave them our excellence. And despite all the obstruction, despite all the shenanigans that McConnell tried to put through, and he's paying for it. Karma has gotten the RNC with Rick Scott running off with $140 million. All the money they're hemorrhaging, all the wackadoo loyal to Trump but not to actual American candidates they have. They are getting the erosion that they deserve, so I don't feel sorry for them. But what pisses me off is that all the shenanigans keep taken away from the things that we should be celebrating right now. We literally seen history being made. Our first black president and his first lady honored with these beautiful portraits in the White House. In our news media, nope, nothing. The few that did want to talk about it wanted to try to find controversy. This is what we are up against. They don't want to see us shine. They don't want to see equality. They believe in that illusion that oppression causes, that makes them feel above while everybody else is on the ground below them being treaded on. And we have to be the ones to stop it. And it is so frustrating. Exactly, Terry. When you think about the literal trash they had elected, and I say elected very loosely, in our White House from 2016 to 2021. When you think about how that odious shit stain stirred up a bunch of idiots that rioted and tried to take over something that our families got hung for the right to vote. Some of us went through terrible beatings and lynching to have this right. And these motherfuckers wanted to do what? Because their fool king wasn't nominated anymore, wasn't going to be president. They thought, oh, we'll just make them do what we want. Ain't that something? But what troubles me about what we have seen collectively going on with our media is just how few and far between people calling it out in the industry that made them, that can. We've got a few like Dan Rather, thank God, but when his voice is gone, then what? Because he's one of the few that stays on their necks about things. Everybody else keeps trying to play the both sides game, and there is no both sides to this. You are either pro-democracy or you are full-on fascism at this point. There's no in-betweens. There ain't no fence-sitting time for this. Because the other side has shown us extreme incompetence and indifference to actual leadership. And when we allow them power, people die. It really is that simple. We have all lost these last few years under Trump's regime. We cannot afford who they would try to put in his place. We have seen on a state-by-state basis, in states run by the GOP, the damage they do to their constituents that don't look like them or don't earn enough to be powerful in their eyes. We have to stop this systemic inequality that has been the norm for far too long in our country. And I know it feels impossible at times because they literally carved our system up. And the system was never good in the first place. When I think about the way schools are set up in general, it pisses me off. Because learning should be a human right. People should be able to continue to learn no matter how slow it takes them or what level it takes them. But we don't set our schools up to that. In fact, the system is stacked against most kids. They don't make learning engaging and then interacting anymore unless you are fortunate enough to be able to afford those kind of schools. And most aren't. And they have tried to, and sadly, I think, have destabilized our public school system so much that they are going to usher in a whole wave of those private educational reconstructive centers that is only going to pump out more of these weirdo Christo-fascist types that cause our society to slow and even halt any kind of process. We want progress. We want a society that grows and studies and prospers beyond. But we're not going to get that if we keep letting these cats run our states into the ground. That is why these midterms are important. That is why you being politically invested is so important. But too many people don't want to say that. Too many people really think, well, I'll still be all right no matter who's in charge. And I'm tired of it being on the shoulders of those of us who have never really been all right, or who knows that we cannot afford another round of somebody like Trump or worse. It's shameful that it takes bad for people to realize that you can't be complacent. Some of you have only known a bit of comfort or a bubble. Welcome to the realities of letting these people run your shit into the ground. Welcome to the realities of being a woman who literally has to carry a dead fetus inside of her or run away to another state if you're in Texas so that you don't die or bleed out. Because your state gives more value to that dead fetus inside your body than you, the person holding that. That is the way they see us. We are nothing but fuckable meat bags and baby incubators to them. And that is not the life that I want on anybody. But that is the life they will condemn so many women to. You got things going on in Florida where a young 16-year-old is told that she's not old enough to make the decision for her own body, whether or not to carry the child to term or not. But you want her to be a mom. She's not old enough to make decisions, but yes, she's old enough to be a mom. You can't make this shit make sense. And we've got motherfuckers trying to run here, even though one of them, that Ryan guy who just got arrested for his part in January 6th, is no longer in the run-in. So I think we're down to like 12 left trying to gun for Governor Whitmer's governor seat here. It's not going to happen because they're literal cartoon characters. But we can't afford to sleep on this. I didn't think they'd be running a walking, talking vegetable in Georgia, but they literally are. And he has the nerve to be doing well in polls versus a senator that has helped the state of Georgia. So when I say we cannot rest or sleep, we must personally invest ourselves and make sure that Georgia doesn't fall under the allure of CTE guy, and make sure that my state stays out of the hands of people like fucking Tudor Dixon. It is a constant state of alarm and alert. There's no such thing as a safe blue state. And I've made that clear several times. Many of our states have sundown towns. Many of our states have purplish, reddish leans. And it is on us. Welcome to the Chat Ballot Club, to really focus on what's important. And I don't want to be hyperbolic, y'all. I know that it's not bad because I've seen the wins. Like I said, y'all sent Sarah Palin packing. I love that. I love that for Alaska. I love that we got our first Native Alaskan representative. It's about time. But we need to do more because our states suffer when we don't have proper representation. And too many people probably fell asleep or skipped out on civics, forget that the president can do only so much. He didn't give out an executive order for that student loan debt thing. He put that in an actual act that the Republicans set up years ago. I love it. That's what happens when you get smart people running your federal government. But we are still 50 states trying to work together, and it doesn't always work out. So if you want your state to actually form that union that they try to give the illusion to, we have to have state and local legislators that give a fuck. It's on us. That is our one part in this cog that too many people, I don't want to worry about that. What's politics ever did for me? And then you see what's going on in Jackson. That is the direct result of you staying home. That is the direct result of letting an asshole like Tate Reeves run your state into the ground. $4 billion was allotted to your state. $4 billion should have had, you should all have fucking sparkling water coming out of your taps if needed. But your governor decided to misappropriate those funds. My state might not be perfect, but since moving to Michigan and being under Gretchen Whitmer, not only has legalized pot generated tons of revenue, the state has such a chill vibe. That's probably why those fuckers got caught in the first place. But we are doing so much keeping our roads safe. Every time I'm outside, which is very rare because I still don't like outside, things are being built, things are being restructured. They have already sectioned a bunch of portions in the town over from us to be redone, refocused. And like I said, it's not perfect. We had to undo a lot of stuff from the previous governor, including stuff that went down in Flint. So my heart goes out to anybody struggling with water issues because we weren't but a hop, skip, and jump away from that shit not that long ago. But when you have governors and senators and reps that want their constituents to not suffer, it pays off and it shows. But when you have fuckers like Tate Reeves, when you have fuckers like McCrory when I lived in North Carolina, who was so busy trying to target marginalized people, they ended up losing his job. And I never get tired of telling that story because it just goes to show you that people are only going to be pushed so much. And yeah, you might get people who kiki it up with your bigotry. You might get a few supposed Bible thumpers who think, yeah, let's go after transgender people because. But the majority of us are sick and tired of your bigotry. And we are not going to let you go after our brothers and sisters. We are not going to let you go after our children, our friends, our loved ones anymore. And we are going to take your jobs. And in this midterm, we have the ability and the duty to fire these fuckers who want to target people for their lifestyle, target communities for their skin color, target anybody who doesn't look, worship, or think like them. Because that is not what America is about. We are a literal melting pot. And our best bet is elevating all of us. No more trying to find the national religion or no. All of us equal. And it is beyond time we stop giving in to the, well, it's only fair to have both sides. No, because the other side has shown us over and over and over again what they're down for. Oppressing women, killing black and brown people. You might get lucky if you think you're one of the model minorities for as useful as you can. You'll get a pat on the head as they lynch you too. These people don't want to talk history. They want to argue with people. They argue with my one friend, Araya, over and over again when he put out his talk about FDR's New Deal. And I'm going to tell you something about the New Deal because a lot of you skipped history class. A lot of you refuse to see how sinister, not even that far back American history was. But FDR's New Deal was not a New Deal for every American. It was for white America to rebuild from the Depression, and it left out black GIs, it left out black families. This was also the president that interred Japanese American citizens, along with several other Asian American families. So all your little mystique, especially you cosplay hammer and sickle type motherfuckers, it's misplaced. FDR was a decent president for his time if you were a straight white Christian person. For the rest of us, he was just another bigot that had power. So, excuse me if I'm not having a bunch of reverence for him. And excuse me if I'm not going to let you try to question the people who have lived through these policies on what we know, man. But too many of you think, well, there was a bunch of socialism programs that my family benefited from, so everybody should be able to benefit from that. And it's like, that's the problem. Your group is always that progress for me and not for thee type. You think that it is so cut and dry in our country, and it's not. I would love for socialism to work on anything but paper. But people are selfish. People are very entitled. And unfortunately, some people are really stupid. And if we are going to have anything close to taking care of each other and building up, we have to start allowing people to form groups, be very mindful of cultural and other bonds that some people disrespect way too much. But allowing people to grow, prosper, and not have to worry about things like their state's water being literal fucking coffee color when we know it ain't coffee. When we ain't pushed under the weight of trying to be educated while trying to afford where we live. Because I still don't understand how we're a society that you're paying just to exist. Rent and bills and utilities and where's it going to come from? Most of us was taught by this time in our lives, if we weren't fighting each other over resources, we would have been in a society where renewable resources were a thing, where our only jobs as humans would be to grow and study and prosper, but we're not there. And it is because we have allowed this weird illusion of power where people with money seem to think that that's all that matters. You don't have to be smart if you're rich. You don't have to be pretty if you're rich. You don't have to be anything you don't want because the power was put in a monetary thing. And that is what they're afraid of. They're afraid of us getting away from that. And we are going to have to get away from that if we want any kind of real progress. Because the chains of needing that financial power, as they call it, has shackled so many of us, has caused so much anxiety. You want to see the root of so much mental problems, the stress of it all. Trying to make enough, trying to keep up with the Joneses, trying to look a certain way has broken so many human minds. And it is on us to figure this new system out and make it better and get away from these illusions. We have seen a 70-year reign in England come to an end with death because that is the natural cycle of things. And we know that they're going to try to keep limping with this new royal family that nobody wants to be bothered with. The best part of your family, you literally tossed out because they were too black. So what I'm saying to everybody who sees the bullshit for what it is we have got to start coming up with systems on our own. And I know it's not easy, but I told my friends, and I'm not joking. I know some of y'all think I was joking, but I'm not. My future goal is a tech commune. And I don't mean like one of those truly off-grid, we're all living in converted school buses, even though I did like what I seen years ago about that. I'm a creature of habit. I want a house. I want to build a community that's both able to grow with the technological changes, the environmental changes, and look out for each other. And I know that I know enough people that are willing to do this. I know it takes time, but like anything, I'm a patient person. I have believed in building things step by step, and I believe that we have the capabilities of doing this. But like anything, it takes people really wanting this. And I know there are enough of us that really want this. I know there are enough of us that would have loved that. Lynn would have loved this. When I think about her, I see her picture earlier today when I was going on through Twitter's nonsense. And I just keep thinking she should be here. So when I think of why I want to go on, I think about my friends who would have thrived in a community where we could just be and take care of each other and grow and prosper and travel. This is a big, beautiful world that I don't want to see spoiled. And I don't want to see driven to the brink of barrenness through greed and corruption. It takes all of us finally getting to that point where we say enough's enough. My time is valuable to me, but I'm not going to allow you to keep chaining me to a price tag just so I can exist. I am so sick of this system destroying us from within. I'm sick of seeing my friends struggling and the anxiety that comes from it. So instead of just complaining, I'm slowly building. I have connected with so many of you, and I truly believe that we can get this done. But it's going to take time. And while I'm doing that, I am working on my projects. I am just so excited, y'all. And I got to show off just a little bit. This month it's starting out slow like every month, but 140 books sold. And this is just the ebooks, y'all. This isn't even the physical books. They haven't started reporting those in yet. And I'm looking forward to that because Drafted Digital, we've been getting on my nerves a little bit, but I am grateful to them. It is because of you I am able to live my dream as a writer, and I am going to play this forward. As things pop off with both the book, with both the webcomic that I'm working on with my friend, I fucking guarantee you by this time in 10 years, we will have that tech commune. Because where you're at is natural. It just floors me that education is not like that in so many areas of the world. And it's on purpose. And we humans have allowed that for so long for it to be the norm that we don't even question it. And it's got to stop because it's not helping our society. That whole wheat from the chaff thing, that worked back in the day, sadly, when humans could still pull bullshit like Manifest Destiny, when we thought we needed shit like a monarchy and kings and queens because, oh, people are stupid, we need people to rule over. But as we have the ability, the digital ability to learn and grow and process information, we need to structure ourselves to be better. And we cannot do that with the current state of systems. I'm sorry. I love most teachers. I think they're a product that helps as best they can, but they have to know how archaic the system is at times. The fact that kids aren't motivated half the time, the few that are barely get enough attention to them because they're crammed in with a bunch of other kids, especially in public schools. The system is not set to nourish a mind. It's set to train a mind. And if we're going to continue to keep training kids instead of teaching them to learn how to love, and that learning is a constant thing, as long as you got breath in your body, you should be learning new things. But we are not doing that as a society yet, and we need to get there. And the only way we're going to get there is if more of us form these communities. And that's why I started pointing out that stuff. And that was at the risk because I tell you all the time, because of the shit I went through, especially with political Twitter, I am always careful. I was accused of being a cult leader by Louise fucking Mensch of all people. That lady's a real idiot. If you're still following her, following me, I don't understand it. Because we are not not even opposite side of the spectrum. She is a literal wackadoo. But apparently to her, because I could get people to listen to what I say, and what I say is vet, verify, and vote. I guess that makes me a cult leader. But the fact that I do want to form an actual community, it made me leery at first. And I nearly shied away from it because of her bullshit. And I'm not going to let that motherfucker stop me from what I want to do. I'm not asking people to worship me. I don't want to be a cult leader. I think cult leaders, from everything I've studied historically, have had issues. And not just bad issues, anxiety issues, the need to be loved. I don't want to be loved. Honestly speaking, I know it's hard for people to believe, especially with me being a writer and stuff. I would rather people remember the characters that I create than me. I don't legit give a fuck what people think about me. That's the part of the sociopathy that I like. Honestly speaking, I have never been one of those people that are like, oh, you gotta love me, you gotta... No. But I think that a better society makes it easier for me to exist. So that is what has always been my goal. And that is why I want to start forming these communities. Because I'm sick of seeing people suffering. I'm sick of the rise of mental health issues because it is hard to exist in a society where you feel purposeless, where you wonder what the fuck's the point. When you see people flexing their so-called monetary power and you're struggling, we have to get away from that. So many brilliant people constantly get left to the wayside, constantly give in to the apathy and despair because our society caters to that still. And we have to be the ones to stop it. And I truly believe in this day and age that we have the ability to do it because so many of us see it. So many of us, we have reached out. We continue to better ourselves. We are online soaking in information. We are writing books. We are connecting. We are making family with people that probably felt like they had nobody. And that is what we should be doing. I've established so many deep connections with people online because that is what we should be using it for. And I feel like together we can make this society way better than it was. And thank you, Blue Phoenix. Welcome to the chat. I just feel like too many people want to try to twist that, though. When I say I want to form a community, every member should feel like they are valued, like they belong. No one should feel like, oh, you don't make this much, so we look down upon you, or you look this way, or you identify this way. Those need to be gone from our society. But I can't act like I can make that happen on a global basis. So I want to start on a way I can. Forming a community, building up from there. It's all right, Beans, and welcome to the chat. I just feel like too many people think, oh, it's a pipe dream. There've been communes since before I was born. I have been to literal off-grid communities. These people are dedicated to their stuff. So I know that smart people can literally form communities that can grow, flourish, and raise a better society. But it takes enough of us wanting to get it done. And we are up against a bunch of people who they have given in to that illusion of monetary power. They've given in to their thought that the Bible tells me I can subject women to whatever I want. The Bible tells me I can look away when people are being abused. The Bible tells me this and that. I've read the Bible. I honestly have loved so much of the Christian faith growing up, but I don't love the way it's interpreted by some people. And I told people all the time, the reason why it was easy for me to walk away and embrace spiritual paganism wasn't because I didn't like Christianity or because I felt like it didn't speak to me. It was because it just wasn't for me. The way the people that I've seen interpret it wasn't for me. And the word itself, it's a nice story. But I'm supposed to believe that my origin in life is to suffer because some supposed sin where an apple was eaten? That's never... And I say this as somebody who is fully dating and more than likely going to marry somebody who still believes in that. That is y'all's right if that is what speaks to your spirit. But we have got to get away from, well, that works for me, so it's got to work for everybody, because that mindset has not only been dangerous and deadly, but it's dumb. I'm going to be point blank straight with y'all about that. You cannot force what works for you on other people. I would never force what works for me on other people. That's not how life works. I found what brings me both spiritual and life comfort. And if other people see that and want to ask questions, that's when I share it. I don't go telling people, oh, you shouldn't believe in this or believe in that. That is not my right. I found what gives me comfort. And I find way too many people are too easily falling into that, well, we can make people do this. We can force people to do this. And no, The moment your mindset comes at you've got to make people see things your way, you should know you're already losing. And I don't want to see faith lose because I still believe that spirituality is a guide for people. But I'm sick and tired of seeing evil, awful people twist it into a bad thing. And that is on us as well. And this future group that I hope, I'm not even going to say I hope because I know what's going to happen. It's going to come from every walk of life. And we are going to respect one another's beliefs and systems. Because I honestly believe the spirituality is a personal journey. And can't nobody tell you what you feel inside of you. But what I can tell you is that the moment you take that spiritual thing to oppress people, to tell people, oh, wow, you're going to go and burn because you happen to be gay or you happen to identify as a different gender than what I think you should, you're going to have a problem. Because we are no longer going to have those kind of boundaries in our group. I don't want that. I don't want people to be miserable while they're alive because that's the whole point of living, is to be as content as we can be, to continuously figure out what we want to do with this life and to learn. These brains in our heads are not just here to house neurons and electrons. It is to actually process information and to grow. There's a reason why I've been slowly teaching myself new languages. There's a reason why I've been studying all kinds of mythologies and histories, and it's not just for writing purposes. When you continuously exercise that muscle in your head, you continue to have purpose. And I want everybody to continue to find that purpose. And nothing you do, whether it's a hobby, whether it's music, whether it's art. I sat and I colored today. I got out a coloring book and I just wanted to color. I didn't want to think. I didn't want to be angry. I didn't want to fucking deal with the news stuff. I sat and I colored in the coloring book because sometimes even art like that helps you relax. And with the arthritis I sometimes get in my hands, drawing isn't always a given. But when you have something that you can focus on and do, it is so rewarding. And it helps remind you of why you're here. And as long as we're here, we should be doing stuff that makes us happy. Music, art, baking, reading, writing, everything we can do. Growing stuff in our gardens, taking care of pets. So many of you have such amazing pets, and I love seeing that. And we are looking, I cannot wait. We're trying to move first because this place has been nice. And I'm not going to shit on the people that actually gave us a chance when we came from out of state. But I'm not going to act like we can't be in a better place now. So we're going to look for a new place, and then we are definitely, I've wanted a dog again so badly. But the future is looking so much better. And not just on a personal front. We are seeing the tides of change. We are seeing people who realize that enough's enough. But we are still up against a formidable, well-financed foe. And that's why I stay on these Bonnet Chronicles. That's why every week I get on and I try to remind people of what we have to focus on. Because they would love to make you feel like, oh, it doesn't matter who's in charge of your state. It doesn't matter who's in charge of your local stuff. But it does matter, because if we want to get to a point where we can learn and grow and feel content, where we can spend days just coloring in a coloring book without feeling anxiety because the world's falling around us, we have to do our part. And I know we can do this, y'all. I am so excited for the future. I know that in time, we will have so much to look forward to. And I'm going to end with a bit of a brag because my friend Roger designed this. And once Draft Traditional finally approves it, the new cover to my book. I'm going to show this to you now. Roger has been such a dear friend to me. And I will link him on Twitter if you aren't following. He really, like Greg, doesn't do a lot of heavy social media stuff, even though he's a writer too. But he is an amazing artist. He works for Marvel. And he gave me the initial BHM drawings when I just gave him the prologue to the story. So when I told him I was going to use his sketch for the original cover, he got back to me and said, let me design a cover for you. And there it is. And it made me tear up. I'm hoping that we will be able to do orders again soon. These new covers should be out as soon as I approve the proof. So I'll be letting everybody know the official announcement next week. I'm just so excited about this, y'all. And I feel like the future really is ours for the taking. But we have got to keep on guard for all the people who try to erode our energies. And right now, the original novel, with errors and all, sorry about that, y'all, it's still available for purchase. But by next week, the edited and new covered version of the book will be out, and I will be ordering a bulk lot, hopefully, of these to give to the people who have been so supportive of the stream and beyond. I'm just thankful to all of you because you are helping me live my dream. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. Greg should be off his training. I want to thank you all for sitting in. I will be back on Tuesday afternoon to talk about midterms and those kind of things. Hopefully the news cycle will be a little less crazy. I know with Captain Espionage it's not likely, but hopefully, people will be too focused on what's going on in Britain for a bit. I just want to thank you all for constantly being supportive of these Bonnet Chronicles. I will be back on Sunday with my Sarlona Static group, but I am taking tomorrow off. I'm going to try to get my hardcore goals done and just relax with the family. I want you to take it easy, have a great weekend, and I really do love you guys. Thank you so much. And I definitely am going to get you a copy, Blue Phoenix. I promise you that. But I am going to take it easy and go make some dinner. You have a great weekend.